Hey guys, what's up? Hosting our weekly game analysis stream, The Art of Analysis. Sorry, I had a little bit of troubleshooting. I'm trying to get my external web camera working. It was working, but I'm convinced it's not a problem with the camera. It's something with my machine. It was pissing me off because it was working and then not working. Alright, it's not a problem with the camera. I'm almost certain of it. Alright. Anyways, I don't know. Ever since they did the last Microsoft update, I've had trouble dealing with it. We now have sound and action. Alright, I've got a game from Uber Driver, Astrobate, Sumer, and Move 11. Did I forget anyone? Mr. Coffee by default. We have your game by default. Default Mr. Coffee. It's your default. Okay, guys and girls. Guys and girls. What's up? We have a message. You're dangerously low on space. Thank you. Great to know. Move 11. Yeah, he loves you, Mr. Coffee. He wants to make you look bad. He's always submitting your losses. He never submits the games you beat him. What a guy. I know Move 11 hasn't had a lot of training games the last week or two, so you're the only person he's played other than me. Alright. Uber Driver submitted this. Oh my god, what is this? Let me remember. A miniature. Uber Driver miniature. Uber Driver playing the... This is just a joke, but... Uber Driver playing the Verisov. When one happens, then I beat him and I'll submit it. Alright. What's up, everybody? Thursday night analysis stream. Sorry I can't get the Pondacam to work. Pondacam. Try one last time. While the stream's live, maybe it'll suddenly make a difference. Nope, it just doesn't show up on the drop-down menu for video capture devices. I give up. I'm not going to waste time on it. Alright, only Mr. Coffee and Astrobate are here. Super serious. I don't know, we're gonna have to start like paying people. Wait, Cockatieri? Oh no, there's Cockatieri as well. Okay. There's someone else. Cockatieri. Alright, so add a new chapter. Hello. Cockatrice. Cockatieri. Alright, that's a game. Chapter 5. It is in a different study. Alright, well, we'll start for amusement. We'll start with this. We're a little late. I apologize, but I was trying to troubleshoot. So, the Verisov, I mean, Verisov immediately, like, if you look at the engine, if you watch the engine, like, eval, you see here 0.2 after one move by both sides. This is why Magnus resigned, like, against Hans the last time. C4, right? Weight is plus 0.2. But if Hans had played knight c3, it's fairly safe to say Magnus probably wouldn't have resigned. Speaking of Hans, did you see the latest computer-like game he played against Christopher Yu? By the way, Mr. Coffee, Just a question, since you live in the United States, how does one qualify for the United States Championship? I'm just kind of curious. It's like you have a special, you get knighted by Sir Sinkfield, or is there a system by rating and by key events? Key events? Like, how is Elsan Muradiabadi in the U.S. Championship? Elshan. How does that happen? Like, a guy who's 150 rating points lower than all the other players in the tournament. How exactly is he in the U.S. Championship? I just don't understand. He's like good friends with Sinkfield. How does that guy qualify? He's not even like within 200 rating points of the other players in the tournament. No, dude, he's an adult. He's 37 years old. He's like a weaker grandmaster. I don't understand. Hey, Asterbait, what's up? Maybe he's friends with one of the commentators or something. He's on Yoster's good side. It's crazy, dude. Hans won the U.S. Junior. Oh, there's a wild card. Wild card. Friends of the St. Louis Chess Club. Yeah, I love this wild card shit. What is it? Is it like MLB? The wild card is another way of saying, like, the organizer, like, picks favorites and puts them in his private championship. Wild card is bullshit. That is just total bullshit. There shouldn't be any wild card. There should be like I wouldn't even watch the U.S. Championship. Hans is in it. The players are just like randomly selected. I don't see how Alshan could possibly qualify. That's really weird. Alright. Just weird. D4, knight f6, knight c3. White is worse by... White is worse after 2 moves. So now we have e6. Allowing the French defense is obviously a huge blunder by black. Chess Kudo getting us a gift sub. Was that Asterbait? Asterbait. Gift sub number 5. Thank you guys. We can use any support you can give us. French defense is not so bad. No, I mean, it's like a mistake by black, to let white have like a decent opening. There's nothing wrong with the French defense, but it's the freaking Verisov. So, black must play d5. Oh, by the way, like Christopher Yu against Hans. Dude, seriously, I mean, this guy's supposed to be a grandmaster, and he's playing the Jabava attack with white. I mean, get a real opening, that like everyone and his brother doesn't play. Like, could you pick something worse? My cam is frozen? Alright. We gotta fix that. We are fixing and mixing. Thank you for telling me. We had some problems with the technical aspect of the other camera, and I was trying to... It probably happened when I was trying to fix my... Trying to activate the other camera. Alright, we're better now. Well, at least this camera works. Christopher Yu against Hans Niemann. I mean, if you think you're playing a computer, you probably don't want to play an inferior opening either. Let's assume you're playing an engine, and Hans is an engine. Is it a good idea to play the Verisov with white? I think like the Kali system would be better. Putting your knight in front of the c-pawn, not a good way to like get a draw against the computer. I think like better to play just like straight up. If we assume that Hans Niemann is a computer, you should probably play like bishop f4 and a more like classical sort of London system. Anyway, whatever. This is Uber Driver's game. He just wanted to show us a nice little miniature. Black played e6, e4. So we transpose to the white side of a French. Obviously, black's best move is d5. Alternatively, black can consider bishop to b4, which is like experimental. Probably not that great. But other than that, like, black doesn't really have a good move here. Christopher Yu. Alright, d5. Over the board, simul. 26 board over the board, simul. Sounds fun. Charity is cool. That's cool. Alright. So c5. Interesting. Like this move order can almost never happen. The question is, does white have anything better than the classical d5? I like how Uber Driver's always talking about playing d takes c5, but he submitted this game where he plays d5. It's kind of funny, no? Hungry chess player need charitable meats. Oh, that's interesting. Meat simul. Charity meat simul. Man, I can't even... I need glasses. It's meals. Sorry. I have eye strain. I need to get glasses. I thought you wrote charitable meats. Yeah. Alright, charitable meats are meals. Meats could be meals. Or like Uber meats. I don't know. D5 is the proper move here. E5. Mr. Coffee, please. Enough with the Laurel and Hardy. the Three Stooges routine. Yeah, I don't know. I like D5. I mean, this seems like we're going to push now here. It's an alternative. It's just so funny that Uber Driver, who's not here, is constantly saying like how he likes taking on c5 and then sends a game with this. And then a classic blunder. So this is a known position. You know, it's like Franco Benoni. Franco Benoni. So e4, so normally e6, d4, c5, d5, and then black plays knight f6. White plays knight c3, and then black blunders by playing pawn takes pawn. This is a known mistake. And black's basically busted after, what is it, 4 moves? Usually played by Franco Benoni move order. Not well prepared Franco Benoni players. E takes c5, e5, and black's in very bad position. Yeah. Yeah, we have enough room for another game analysis. But I need you guys to send it to me. Yeah, I mean, so a lot of people automatically recapture, but e5 refutes black's formation. So now he can't play this because of pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes d4, queen e2 check. That's the problem. So you lose a piece. You know, it's like the Wizard of Oz. Everything is like, you know, happening behind the curtain. That's like the true point of the whole thing. All right. So e5, black's best shot is knight g8. Now black's not down any material. I had this game against one of my students. It's not even like that obvious, like whether it's better to take with the knight or take with the queen on d5. The only thing is, if you take with the knight, it takes a while to generate any threats. Whereas if you take with the queen, I mean, I guess you can put pressure on f7 pretty quickly with bishop c4. This is commonly one line. There's a similar theme in the Benko. We can play quickly like bishop c4, knight f3, and knight g5. So to put a lot of pressure on f7. But it's interesting. There's a bunch of games from good players. They're like split on it basically. I would think queen takes is probably better. But let's see what happens. So he plays this instead. So now this knight is in trouble. Yeah, it's interesting. If white were to play knight takes e4, pawn takes e4, it's probably only like a pawn. Even that might not be that clear. For example, queen d5, a reverse ready. We're going to get this pawn on e4. But instead, knight takes d5, threatening to trap the knight or not? Knight or not? Maybe we're not actually threatening to trap the knight. Can we get him with queen g4? If white were to be on the move here, what would the best move be? f3 allows queen h4 check. Even that might be winning, because at the end of the day we win with knight c7 as well. So I got another submission here. Masta? Who? Oh no, is that colonoscopy guy? You're a subscriber and you sent in this one. What is that? I don't want to click on that. Yes, colonoscopy. Almost Hans Niemann-like. I know this joke is getting old. I'm bored of the whole soap opera. How can those guys just let the guy play in the... I mean, let the guy play in the U.S. Championship with all the suspicions around him? Shouldn't he be, like, timed out from chess till the investigations can run their course? He's, like, being investigated by FIDE for cheating allegations. But we're just going to let him play in the U.S. Championship. I would protest if I was in the U.S. Championship. I guess that's why I'm not in the U.S. Championship. Alright. Yeah, you don't want to make waves. No making waves. The arbiter has said that until the allegations come to a clear conclusion, they presume innocence. The arbiter. And who is that? Who is the official arbiter of the St. Louis chess kingdom? I mean, what's the difference between, like, what was it? Illuminov land and and Sinkfield land. Really, at the end of the day. St. Louis and Kamiki are basically the same thing. It's this far off place in the middle of nowhere. Look, dude, lots of scrolling. Send me the game in time and you wouldn't have to worry about it. Sorry about the scrolling. Yeah, it's in there. You're complaining about scrolling. Come on, guys, get with it and get the games in time. You don't have to make me scroll. Alright, going back to where we were. Yeah, I've heard this name, Tony Rich, but I don't know who that is. Rich Tony. I never met Tony Rich. He must be a modern arbiter. He's like Mr. St. Louis. He sounds like a singer or something. He should be like a lounge singer. Tony Rich. Singing with the Richettes. Yeah, he's since my time. He's on the Sinkfield payroll, obviously. Nah, I just don't dig the St. Louis scene. They hijacked the entire U.S. Championship and practically the U.S. Chess Federation. Screw that, man. That's not democratic. That's like third world dictatorship stuff. Because the U.S. Chess Federation is incompetent to organize the U.S. Championship on their own terms. They let Sinkfield just take it over. It's so gross. I can't even watch the U.S. Championship because of that. Alright, so this is the game. Knight takes d5, d6, queen e2. So this knight is in trouble. Theoretically. Right. Right, it's... yeah. But is he like buddies with the Sinkfield? Why was Hans like the first person they go to when Roper couldn't play in the St. Louis? Does anybody have an answer for that? How was Hans automatically chosen for the St. Louis Sinkfield, the great Sinkfield tournament, when Roper couldn't play? There was lots of people. You could get Schenklin to play. How is it that Hans was automatically chosen? You know? Alright. I don't know if anyone's spoken to that question. But, you know, that's the problem with a dictatorship, that you don't know how these decisions are made. But that's a private tournament. They can do what they want. But I don't like that they hijacked the U.S. Championship. You know, he can hold all the tournaments he wants under his roof, but I don't like that. He's taken over the U.S. Championship and U.S. Chess Federation. It's just gross. They should have Josh Hawley come in and like speak at the opening ceremony. Like, whatever, dude. D6, queen e2. So this knight is like a Petrov. Maybe black's best move was like taking on e5. Just be down a piece, you know? So what does he do here? f5? I like f5. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Josh Hawley making the first move on Hans Niemann's board. They can have a lecture about abortion rights, or lack thereof, during the tournament or something. Too partisan, man. You can't have this Republican freaking donor as a chess organizer. Sorry, man. Queen e2, bishop f5. I'm just ranting now. I just hate Sinkfield and the whole freaking thing. Isn't it just our luck that the far right is the only like billionaire chess owner? It's always some whacked out guy. Ilumshinov is a Russian millionaire. He took over FIDE. Why can't there ever be anyone normal? We had a pretty good sponsor, like the Seattle Chess Foundation or whatever, when I played in the U.S. Championship. It was a relatively normal organization before Sinkfield got his teeth in it. F3, and we win a piece. Black resigns. Is that the best move? Bishop F5? Yeah, Bishop F5. And then G4 is even better. That reminds me of something else, the Petrov. Doesn't this happen in a Petrov? F3 is only the second best move. Black had knight c6 now, threatening knight d4. You could play c3, preventing knight d4. This is interesting. Knight takes c3, b takes c, d takes c5. I think I could maybe beat Uber Driver if I was lucky in a fast time control. I mean, white's a little awkwardly placed with the queen on e2, and black has a solid pawn for it. No, the whole everything world is corrupt. You know, any sports organizations. It's the USCF's fault for being incompetent in the first place. You know, if the US Chess Federation was a normal organization that was competent, you wouldn't have a guy like taking it over like Sinkfield. But what can I do? You know, I live in Hungary. Who am I to even? As an expatriate, I am like a U.S. citizen, and I do represent the United States in the honorable domain of the World Chess Federation, but I don't actually reside in the United States, so I guess technically I'm not eligible for the U.S. Championship. Sadly. Oh, I miss St. Louis. All right, Asterbait, what's up? What had I had a spot on the executive board, none of this would have happened. Yeah, we just have like a really shitty tournament with no prizes. I'd be hosting the U.S. Championship on Tuesday nights. I mean, it could be worse. Like Susan Polgar could be like running the show. She probably tried. She moved to St. Louis to be close to. That's really the sickest thing. To move from Texas to St. Louis so you could be close to the money, it tells you a lot about a person. First it was Texas to be close to UTD, and then it was like move to St. Louis. So it's like we just like go wherever the money is. It's really insane. Anyway, I don't know why I'm ranting so much. Asterbate playing the white side of the Grand Prix attack. Alright, let's try to focus on chess. Knight c3, e6, f4, d5. Yeah, this is a good way to play against the Grand Prix. It's a good way to play against the close Sicilian. I think e6 is solid. That's what International Master Richard Palliser recommended in his excellent book, Beating the Anti-Sicilians, or something to that effect, some 15 years ago. I only mentioned because he's the only author I've ever seen who recommended an e6 based repertoire against the close Sicilian. Ever in like an anti-Sicilian. There have been like tons of anti-Sicilian repertoire books written. I mean, beating anti-Sicilian stuff. You know, playing the Sicilian for black against the anti-Sicilians. There have been tons of books written on this sort of subject, and no one ever like suggested e6 until Palliser. But it's a logical idea, you know. Most people always automatically play knight c6 and g6, but this move is more central, you know. It makes sense. I mean, you go e6, you take away d5 from white. Beating the anti-antis, yeah. f4, d5. There's also There's also knight c6, but that gets more complicated. I like d5. So knight f3 is probably the main move. Right. Yeah, it can be like a King's Indian attack. Of course, you know, the knight is on c3, so not exactly a King's Indian attack, but like that. I mean, if black goes d4, it becomes like a dunst opening or whatever. But Asterbate, I was just telling him not to do this. It's so funny, man. What's wrong with this move? You know what's never occurred to me here? You could theoretically play knight f6, but then bishop e5 checks pretty strong, I guess. So it's too late to do the tile gambit. Like, I think if here, like, black has a good game, or a decent game at least, but the problem is you would have bishop e5 check, messing up black's structure. So it's too late for that. Black has to take back, but the problem is pawn takes pawn is bad on a couple of counts, right? You tried the Grand Prix once and never again. I like it better as a defense against the English than I do like playing it with white. I mean, I think like all closed Sicilians are like that. It seems like you're trying to play like a defense, like it was an attack, basically. This is such a bad move for two reasons, Asterbate. Okay, reason number one is that you're trading off your center for basically nothing. The e4 pawn, formerly known as your center, is now gone. Number two, what are you like gaining with this? The open e file? It's not like, you know, you have a rook on the e file or something. But black is gaining a great diagonal for their bad bishop on c8. There are two concrete reasons this benefits black, and basically nothing for white. Yeah. Two good reasons not never to play that move. You know, I would much rather play e5, which is like some kind of weird f4 against the French or something. Yeah, I lost to that guy. This guy. My first game ever in Budapest. Indonesian player Mas. I lost against him in a Grand Prix. The Gambit line. But anyway, pawn takes pawn, horrible move. I bet black could even play like a6 or something. Even this probably wouldn't be that bad of a gambit. That's how good black's position is. I could see like pawn takes pawn, bishop takes e6, controlling b5, and black has some compensation for the sacrificed pawn. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's probably playable. Like that's how like hopeless White's setup is. E takes d5, e takes d5, check. Now black can play. Well, there's this element of that. There is an e file. Okay, so if bishop d7, queen e2 check, defending this, and now we're gonna steal the pawn on d5. It's a martial variation of the Sicilian style trap. This is unbelievable. Bela Kotenashvili against future women's world champion Valentina Gunina. Knight e7, and like, oops, my pawn is gone. Wow. GM Durabai rating with a party of 32. Grandmaster Durabai. Thank you for the raid, sir. Very good to see you back streaming. I noticed the last couple of days you've been active in the chess world, presumably in the real chess world. Durabai was streaming a lot during the pandemic era. National Master Dale, welcome. We are analyzing games here from our subscribers. Thanks a lot for GM Durabai. Yeah, this is the only way that basically black can go wrong. Later, Gunina would become women's world champion, but basically that's the only way this could possibly be misplayed. So this is important. Black has to play knight c6 here. This is the only move, but it's a good one. And now black is at least equal. This is huge. Knight d7 apparently just like drops the d5 pawn. I mean, I would think like, honestly, white is so backwards in the middle that black can probably drop his pawn and still have a tiny bit of compensation for the sacrificed pawn. But this is interesting. Queen e2 check. That interpolation might be actually a good move. Asterbait, thank you. Gifting a tier 1 sub to National Master Dale. Queen e2 check, I said like he did the pawn exchange and there's no benefit, but you know, he is making use of that open file. I mean, this is a relative beginner game. 1700 players on lichess. Asterbait made a mistake, but he managed to find, you know, some sort of justification. Yeah. And now we take. Yeah, Queen e2 was a nice move. You didn't have to play that. I mean, you could just like play knight takes d5, right? But I think after that, maybe it doesn't make a big difference. I mean, you're still gonna play Queen e2 check. Queen e2 is coming on the next move then. It probably doesn't really matter. I guess black has an additional possibility, right? If you play knight takes d5, black can play bishop d6, and it doesn't seem like a big deal, but he could play queen e2 check king f8, hypothetically, or maybe even knight e7. But whatever, like he gets his pieces out a little bit better, you know. So I guess queen e2 is accurate. Knight takes d5, and now a6. So what do? You know, we give up our bishop. Black gets kind of unfurled. If you play this, the black pieces are coming out. I don't know, do you have something like queen e5, double attack? It's not convincing, right? This doesn't feel right. We're going to get ourselves in trouble in this sort of situation. So you decided to come back, keep black kind of bottled up. See how his pieces are bottled up? But white has to sort out his development. The bishop will have to come to b2. But nice game. Asterbait usually submits games he won in crushing fashion. Now I expected knight takes e7 and a quick b3 to command that diagonal. If, for example, knight takes e7, b3, we have to watch this. I don't know, you know. Maybe the best bet, maybe this is not a problem, but maybe the best bet is to bring up the knight first. Just knight f3, black comes out, knight e6 or something, and then b3, knight d4, queen d4, rook b1. It looks very dangerous for black, but maybe it's not that bad. But I think white's still winning. You played bishop e4. Yeah, I mean, this is crazy. I think he can't do knight f6. And white's still not that well developed, and he's only one pawn up. So I feel like black should still have chances. I mean, maybe f5. I mean, at the end of the day, like, the point is, black has some command of the center. Like f5, what are you going to do? Queen h5 checks something, you have to go back. Where do you go? Here. And this is awkward now. It feels like white needs like one more move to be assured of a really good position. White's like one move short of really putting him away. But this feels too slow. right? Bishop e4, it just feels too slow. But he had to protect his knight or trade it off. I vote for trade it off. This is a powerful bishop. It's not a bad exchange. You would help him like get out a little bit. But it's still probably worth it. This is a bit precarious. So f5. Black just doesn't do it. I mean, honestly, you don't have a choice, do you? I mean, you could take on e7, I guess. That's true. You could have waited and take on e7, but now your bishop wasted time. So that's probably not the best. But this is like awful for black. Knight takes f6 check, g takes f. I mean, he didn't like this, of course. It's a terrible structure, and he has no place to put his king. He'll have to try to castle queenside. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just looks really bad for black. Knight f3, f5. For example, bishop takes f5, bishop takes f5, queen e5, double attack. You might have tactics like that, for example. There's various stuff here. But you won a funny game. Okay, bishop c6, double checkmate. It's not every day you see that. That's funny, Astrobate. But you need to be serious. I want you to submit serious games here for analysis. If we turn on the engine and go back a couple moves, you know. So this is the point here. At the end of the day, you're not clearly winning. You're just better. And you should have taken this bishop on e7 probably. I feel like this is very risky. And this is like... Oh, by the way, queen e5, I missed this knight e6 move. But this is inherently the logical thing to do. If he trades queens, he's going to be suffering down a pawn. So he should probably try not to trade queens. But you've got to be careful he doesn't castle, and suddenly your king is still, you know, in the middle of the board. Alright, not that perfect game, but we got another game here. What is this? I think it's something else, okay. Alright, onward and upward. Thanks for the gift stuff from Astrobate. Guys, please submit games if you are a subscriber to the stream. You're welcome to submit a game. I think we're almost full for today. But in the future, if you get a gift sub, you're welcome to submit games. I've got Sumaher versus me. He always submits the games versus me. Alright, this is brutal. Thank you for submitting your game against me. I wonder why my water is tan colored. I poured it in my coffee cup. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining me. Thanks for the raid from GM Durabali. Good to see him back here on lichess. My favorite and only place to play chess. Sorry about the Ponda cam. It's out of commission temporarily. Ponda is here with me, listening attentively. We'll be back on Sunday, and also tomorrow we have rapid challenges, Fast Rapid Friday tomorrow morning at 11. If you're up, European morning time. All right, Camel Culture, no game from you? No tournament games, sire? D4, G6. Okay, so this is like how... Oh no, this is the game I lost. Dude. I don't know, man. I'm gonna cancel Sumaher's subscription. I mean, if he submits another game that he won against me, I'm gonna have to, like... Cancel Culture. Change his name to Cancel Culture. Alright, whatever. I don't know who this character is playing black here. This is some kind of... This was a rapid game played on the stream. Cancel Clutcher. Yeah, so... I mean, the Gingy Indian is objectively not really correct, but I played it a number of times against him. By the way, I've never lost a tournament game with it. I think I think I've probably played it like 6 or 7 times over the board, and it's an effective weapon, but pretty much lost most of its surprise value by this stage. You know, so honestly, maybe I should play something else. But I don't want to just play like a routine Benoni. Next time I'll try something different. So I've played it against him a number of times, and I know he knows what to do. After bishop takes c, b takes c, I was toying with other ideas for black here. Like, there's some games with e5. I don't know. It kind of makes sense to turn it into a... Maybe you could turn it into a check Benoni where you blockade. You try to blockade with the check Benoni type structure. Black is missing the dark square bishop. But it's not easy to exploit that. You see here? D takes e6. That's a better attempt. I mean, if you're going to try to exploit the dark squares, this move, I guess. I've never analyzed this. It's probably worth looking at. Yeah, no, it's called the we used to call it the Hergot, National Master Dale. That's, actually, in all fairness to Dean Hergot, we used to give it credit. We called it the Hergot, but nobody, even knows who Dean Hergot is anymore, and so everyone calls it the Gingy Indian, where it's not clear where Roman got it from. If he stole it, I don't think that Roman played any Monadnock marathons, so I don't know, I don't know where Roman stole it from, but actually I don't know where Hergot got it from. It's interesting, interesting the history of this opening, but yeah, originally Hergot was the first one that I know of playing it. Gingy just sort of popularized it. I saw... trying to remember. Maybe I saw Igor Ivanov play it. Igor used to play the modern. Maybe I saw Igor play it. It was like the early 90s. But Hergot had already been playing it since the late 80s. I never played him. But a bunch of my friends did, so yeah, we always referred to it as the Hergot. But the Hergot is f5. Now there's another angle that it's called the Beefeater variation, and I don't know the story behind that. That's a British thing. David Norwood used to drink while he played, and he quit playing chess, but wonder if it was because he liked drinking martinis. How it got the name Beefeater variation, I'm not exactly sure. But I know Norwood always had his whole repertoire based on like G6, so he probably contributed to this. Anyways, a lot of people play H4, but I think this line is pretty dangerous. This might be White's best move. Roman was always like very dismissive of everything. He was kind of like almost like fake news, almost like an early fake news. He was like a fake chess news promoter. He would promote variations that weren't really necessarily that good, just kind of, or they were good but they had flaws, and he would just like brush, he would airbrush out the flaws and like pretend they're not there. But there are flaws here. Like this variation is a bit of a problem. F takes e4. Now technically I think f3 is White's best move. Here we would normally have f3. I guess queen a5, for example, queen c2, and then we could, I guess, transpose d6, f takes e4, knight f6, bishop d3. Alexander Onshuk versus Sokolov. Andre, 1995. I already don't like Black's position. So I don't know, I mean... I mean, I guess Roman wouldn't play queen a5 here. Roman would play knight f6. Then f takes e4. And then I guess like d6. It's not clear though that queen c2 is necessary. Sumer has like an obsession with this move. On the other hand, there's like nothing special black can do. Okay, knight f6, f3 we like transpose. It's funny, there's someone, I think this is a correspondence game in the database, someone named Morlock. Wasn't that like the evil creatures from the H.G. Wells, The Time Machine? That was a great movie when I was a little kid. I was like terrified of the Morlocks, like these monsters that lived when you went in the time machine. Alright. Morlock. The Morlocks. Something I had a nightmare about when I was a little kid. D6. F takes e4. So here we have a problem. This is where black starts to have a problem. Astrobate. Knight g4. I don't think we have time for that. Warlock the Warlock. They were like creatures. I never read the novel though. F takes e4. Knight on bd7, knight f3. Yeah, here some people played knight g4. Trying to hold on. So I saw this game from Sashi Kiran. It was 2000. He was 2500. Sashi Kiran against Saravanan. GM versus IM. Bishop e2. Anyway, Roman's theory was always that it was okay to do this. Knight e5, knight e5, de5. But if you analyze this with a computer, it's just like freaking out. Like you have Jinji on the one hand saying that black has a good game, it's very easy, everything's fine, there's no problem. But if you put it on the engine, it's like black is -3 here, or something really extreme. White has the bishop pair, and black has some, you know, some weaknesses. But I did something crazy here for fun. I wanted to be creative, and I think this was my first game of the day. You can see, you know, what the typical chess player does, right? This guy Kobayashi, I don't know, played queen d6. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about it's busted by the h for h5, dude. I think this system might even be better, but you know, it's funny if you look at all the statistics, you say it's busted, but black has a plus score in every line. So you can't really like, and the same thing here, like black, it's busted according to the engine, but in practical results it's not busted, you know? That's the thing. Busted, yes, the engine says it's like +3, but when you look at the statistics, you know. But I play king d7. This is a remarkable game. Okay, first of all, if you know the Nimzo and you know this line, a lot of times we're walking king d8, king c7 anyway. And it's like a Leningrad Nimzo. So I've never done this before, but I got the idea because I was like, look, man, I don't want to put my queen on d6. You know, this sucks. It's just stuck there. It's kind of passive. It's hard to do anything. King d7. I thought it was really creative, but the computer says I should have put my king on c7 anyway. So watch what happened. Castles. And now the best move for black... Oh, by the way, there was another move. I had h6. This is actually a really interesting move. It never occurred to me. But you want to set up your pawns so that they're on dark squares, right? To take over and compensate for the weaknesses that you don't have a dark square bishop. h6 is actually a nice move. Preventing bishop g5. I think that this is maybe objectively the best try for black in this position. I didn't conceive of that here. Now castles, and I got a little carried away. I guess at the end of the day I said to myself, alright, self, these pawns are going to be attacked at some point, and I don't want to blockade with my queen, so I came up with the stupid idea to blockade with my king on d6. I mean, maybe, honestly, I don't know. Maybe you could do some like knight e8 here, but this pawn is probably going to be hit. You know, it's just a matter of time. Here, here, here. He'll be able to hit the e5 pawn eventually. So I play king d6. So what are you going to do to me? You know, it's a fast, rapid game. You know, show me the refutation. He plays bishop g5. I played h6. He plays bishop h4. Played g5. He plays bishop g3. I say, ah, okay. So your idea is to sack a bishop on e5, possibly. Man, the computer had a field day with this position. But, you know, I'm not sure it would be that easy for just an average player. I mean, it doesn't look like he can attack e5 with anything else, you know. f5 is covered. His queen is nowhere near it. I mean, so if white has no way to attack e5, queen c1, setting up a cheapo. What did you do? Like, analyze the position with an engine? What cheapo is that? Oh, you see, that's the game. Yeah, h5. But it only makes sense once I play h5. I had already wasted a lot of time. Once I weaken g5, okay, yeah. But if I hadn't played h5, if I just did another move, like bishop d7, it's not clear what, you know, white would do. Now, if you put this on the engine, it's like, okay, white's like plus 10. No. White's like plus 5. There's like these really long-winded things that white can do. But h5 weakens my dark squares. Still, I didn't think it was a big deal. Queen c1. Yes, I can see he's threatening bishop takes e5. There was something about knight takes here. I don't know, I rejected this for some reason. I'm not really sure. Just on principle, I didn't like it. So, the engine, I think, suggests, like, g8, rook. But I wanted to get my other pieces in the game, so I played queen g8. So, obviously, you're not going to mate me. But the computer has some crazy shit, like bishop takes e5. Yeah, I mean, Bijak, we know you've analyzed this. There's some incredibly deep stuff, like here threatening this, then threatening this, and white's winning. If you analyze, you know, the Nimzo, if you know like some lines in the Leningrad Nimzo, you may know that there's variations where black's king is on c7, and sometimes white can sack a piece by playing like knight to d4, getting black to take it. So there's extremely long-winded variations here involving sacrificing on e5, but that's very hard for white to see. So he makes a bad move, I guess, bishop d3. This doesn't This doesn't help white necessarily. Bishop d3, h4, and I thought, okay. And I was kind of worried he might play like h3 and keep his bishop on this diagonal, to be honest. But he didn't. I was like, okay, I'm all set now. Bishop d3, h4, bishop f2, I'm fine. And I can see that maybe, you know, bishop takes c5 is a check. Okay, whatever, b6. At this point, I thought, okay, I'm going to win. You know? I'm better. I'm blockading. I'll eventually open up some threats on the king's side. Yeah, so apparently he has this idea, which never occurred to me in a fast time control. You played it like 2 moves later. I mean, okay. It's not forcing, it's like putting the bishop in take. I mean, you know, a computer will see it, but you have to make sure this works. It's not that simple. Like, pawn takes pawn. There's this possibility. Black can play c takes, and then you've got queen a3, and this is not simple either. You know? I mean, king d7. I'm not sure. It's pretty complicated. We're opening up, like, bishop b5 check ideas now. I mean, it's one thing if it's like a classical game, but I mean, in a blitz or rapid game, it's hard to be sure if this works or not. So you played a4, and I thought a while here about playing a5. I was kind of in ignorant bliss. But objectively, I don't know. I think black's in trouble because of this bishop d4 thing. g4, a5, which is what I expected. I mean, he's trying to chip away. And I thought, okay, no problem. You know, I just go g3. We have a good game. I'm opening up his king. But now he played that. I was like, what? This is unbelievable. Bishop d4. So if I take this way, we're looking at e5 check, getting back the piece like immediately, at the minimum, because I can't get mated in one. You like get your piece back with an attack against my king, which is wide open. And so I took here. This is the best move. King h1. And I think here I was supposed to play knight h5, but I missed one little detail. I didn't realize like knight h5 protects f4, or it just didn't occur to me. The key to knight h5 is not just threatening knight g3. The key defensive idea is that we're preventing you from coming to f4. You know, so now it's not so simple. I think black has chances to put up really serious resistance here. But I think this move doesn't help, because you're taking on b6. I mean, long ago I had burned that bridge when I played h4 attacking your bishop. I knew this was hanging, but I thought I had time. So basically now I'm like lost. I guess maybe not. Maybe there was a chance I could have played pawn takes d4. Or the computer says this one, maybe. I don't remember what it said now. Let's see. I'm lost. I'm lost anyway. There's no way I can save it. What's this? E takes d4? C takes d4. Huh. All moves are winning. Not all moves. Yeah, it's like an avalanche. Look at that. That is sick. You know, that pawn. The pawn. They're like one giant unit of... It's like the blob, man. The blob is coming to get you. the pawn cross. The pawn cross is like unleashed. Look at that blob. Blobiferous. Mate in 9. It's not every day you get this position in like a game. So this was at least, if I'm gonna lose, let it be fun, right? Thank you for at least making it a fun game, Sumeher. So queen f4 check, and I'm totally busted. I mean, at the minimum, he has like rook takes a7 check, and I'm gonna have a little trouble stopping that. So I play this, and I'm losing here. Take c5 check, king c5. Yeah, and I guess here I expected expectorant. I expected you to take on e5. This is really brutal. You played this, letting me go back, defend the e5 pawn, and you've got rook c6 check here, and then you still don't take the knight. It's unbelievable. He could have just taken the knight. He was like crucifying me instead. Bishop e5. That's like the most horrifying move ever. I thought, okay, there's a small chance I can survive. But even here, he finds d6. That's so mean. Yeah, I mean, I guess objectively I should defend with like rook h7 or something. I am I like the pawns here. This is crazy. If only I could play like h3 or something. This is just suicide. I guess rook h7. This is like my only defense, rook h7. Then b7 plus 42. Is that enough? After b7, my best move is queen takes g2 check. King takes g2. h1 queen. Yeah, you know how that goes. That's like the 80s computer variation. Okay, good game. Very good game. By you, anyway. So you proved like king d7 was unsound. Move 11 versus Mr. Coffee. Battle of the supporters. VIP versus moderator. Whose side are you on? We should have a tournament like Team Hans versus Team Magnus. You know who's going to win that. Alright. My wine. But that was fun, Sumeher. Thank you for that game. You know, it was enjoyable. Alright. Move 11 with white, e4, e6. Guys, please support the stream and subscribe. We need your support to keep it going. Thank you for the raid from GM Durabali. And we've got his viewers hanging out with us. Master Dale. Okay, e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3, knight f6. Mr. Coffee playing the classical. e5. Knight fd7. f4 is the best move, but if you ever want to play something else, I had some success with playing this. You know, knight on c to e2 is a kind of lesser known variation, but not a bad line for white. If you want to maybe like throw something out there that the typical French player may not be used to, knight on c e2 is a playable line. I mean, knight f3 is like Nimzovich's variation. What do they call it? They're calling it Steinitz variation? I don't know. This is just the Steinitz variation. But knight f3, Nimzovich played this a lot. No, that's different. I'm thinking the advance. I take it back. There's a difference, right? In the advance. No, this is what Nimzovich played, yeah. He played both. He played the advance, and he played this as well. Yeah, knight f3, c5. I don't know what it's called, particularly. It's really not dangerous for black, though. This is far better here. Okay, so f4, now a6 for Mr. C. Asterbait with the gift sub for Extreme Dota. So, Mr. Coffee, I had never seen this personally. A6 immediately. Hyper-prophylactic French. Interesting move. Why not? How can white take advantage of that? Knight a4. Exclam. How can white take advantage of a6? Why is a6? Why does a6 have a worse score than other moves here? How can white possibly exploit that move order? You know? I don't really have a clue. Maybe this again? Do we shift back to that variation? Is that an interesting idea? Is there something to be... Like, this is not a thing. That's a thing sometimes in the other variation. I kind of wonder, does it make that variation better? I guess the question becomes, like, is a6 less relevant if white shifts to this knight ce2 type of line? Otherwise, I think you're going to be a lot of transpositions. We just transpose back into normal lines. Can we get the computer's opinion on this? Knight on ce2. Okay, this is an option. We need to bust out Leela or Alpha Zero or something. Slidey knows what he's talking about. Number one move for white, knight on c to e2. It's falling down. But it's still up there. Knight f3 and knight e2. Yeah, it's still number one. I'm telling you, like, when you look at the position and you deductively think about it, how does a6, how do we take advantage of that? This is not a thing, so let's just pull the knight back immediately. The Lorax knows what he's doing. Lorax Garcia. Alright. But h4 was the engine's other idea. I like that. That's Coffee House. So we just transpose back into theory. Okay. Bang, bang. You've got b5 here. I don't know. Dude. Maybe b5 is the most sort of modern, I would think, way of playing it. I had a game like many years ago against Kiryakov. I don't remember if it was this exact move order. But I think Mr. Coffee b5 is interesting. We need to get you like a master class with Varuzhin Akobian. He's a little full of himself, but a good French player. Alright, bishop e3, knight c6, queen d2, and now b5. There's so many moves for white, look at that. And I would bet you that, like, I played Kiryakov in 1999. I would be willing to bet that something like 80% of these games were played since 1999. Because honestly, this whole concept of a6 and b5 is Like, it wasn't known in the early 90s. I mean, nobody played that. It was a new idea back then, in 1999. There's no way there was, like, 2,000 games in this position. Everybody played more like old school systems. So the vast majority of these games were played in the last 20 years. So many different moves for white. I kind of like bishop e2. And then my knight coming back here. One thing that it does, it discourages white from castling queenside. I mean, obviously with this, it's kind of like the Jabava London. If you play this French style pawn storm, the queenside castle plan kind of goes out the window, you know. It has that going for it. I've never played bishop d3. You know, you look like you're asking for the pawn whammy, you know, to come down on you. But if black closes the center, takes the pressure off the center, then white has a free hand on the other side. So here we have just one game where Mr. Coffee releases the proverbial tension. I'm surprised no one has played like knight to b4, to be honest. Like calling this into question. I realize that it's a good knight, and black might be left with a bad bishop. Maybe white could like seriously do f5. I don't know. So there's 100+ games in this position. c4 isn't too bad, right? c4. No, the problem, Sean Pinto, is that if you play c4, you take pressure off of d4. And by taking pressure of d4, taking pressure off the white center, you make it easier for him to play f5. So when you play c4, you're making the chances of this coming in later greater. You play this, you take pressure off of d4, he moves his bishop. Now this is going to be a serious problem, because we no longer have pressure on the d4. Now white can play f5. Here's a game where this Swedish guy, he's like an FM or something. b4. I would play knight d1. The danger is, I think, f5 getting played at some point. But maybe knight e4 is better. I have no idea. Knight d1 is better. I mean, I like to keep my pieces together. You know, knight e4 is like, hey, see you later. Have fun out there on the Russian front. I mean, the knight is out there literally by itself, separated from the other pieces. There's a lot of games here. We transpose to a different line. And they're high-level games. Look at that. Hikaru, Wang Hao, Grishuk, Svidler. This transposes to something. Wow. But how about knight b4? The theoretical possibility of f5. But not that dangerous if black has pressure on the center. So white's best is just castles. And we're threatening this. Take the bishop. Pawn captures. Again, this is the real danger here. And black just ending up with a bad bishop. So trading a knight for a bishop in this position is like bad for black. The position is so closed. Oftentimes that's a bad maneuver in the Sicilian. But I was curious what the computer would say. It loses time. It makes sense. So Mr. Coffee, you're not supposed to do this. You're supposed to play b4. And this is the most fluid. I don't think you should release the tension, you know? b4 is not really releasing the tension. I would play knight d1, queen b6, keeping the tension, increasing the tension, queen f2 apparently. If black's to keep the tension, you could play a5. So here's some games. Grobler. Grobler, the pawn gobbler. David Grobler. That's hard to live with that name. Alright, Mr. Coffee learned his lesson, supposedly. He gave up the Steinitzian control of d4. Well, that's it, man. Now, white has quite good position, I would imagine. I guess you should just exchange on d4, objectively. Surveyor. Doctor. I love this. Dr. A.B. Surveyor. Like, that's a real person. They left out his, like, third initial. He's actually Dr. A.B.C. Surveyor, but there wasn't enough room. Do people, like, make up, like, fake identities to play? They must make up, like, fake identities to play correspondence chess. Dr. A.B. Surveyor. I bet you won't find many surveyors in the telephone book. No, Mr. Coffee, I think you have to start with this exchange, probably. But black's slightly worse. I think the reality of the situation is f5 is a serious threat. I mean, sometimes you might be able to get in knight c5, knight e4. Right? Right. That bishop is no prize. This is an interesting position. I would give thought to bishop d7. But it's inherently passive. And I imagine white has plenty of advantage here. I mean, if you're going to move your bishop, it's a tough call. I mean, this keeps some control of e4 if you want to play like knight e4, but you're really getting smoked by f5 here. If you play this, you're still getting smoked by f5. So you play queen c7, and you're still getting smoked by f5. You tried to stop f5 by attacking the e5 pawn. I mean, white hasn't had time to play rook a e1 yet. So I think you're not really threatening anything, though. You know, your bishop is hanging on c6. So he just blasts you with f5. So objectively, the monster knight on d4. Can we... Oh man, I mean, this is ugly. Now you decided to play bishop d7. You just wanted to open a few files for white's rooks first. Now he's got like both files, this one and this one. He is theoretically threatening queen takes e5 though. So if move 11 tries like rook c1, I mean, I guess you grab the pawn and say some Hail Marys. So move 11 has to decide what to do. He opens it up. What about bishop takes? I don't know. I mean, it might even be a mistake. But I don't know how, if you play this, how are you gonna... Yeah, I mean, it looks really bad. Queen f2 looks murderous. I don't think that black can survive this. Bishop takes, probably the best try. In order to break through, now white has to like take your crappy bishop. At some point anyway. He doesn't have to take right away. He might have something better. I was thinking, but I think eventually it's going to come down to, you know, having to make this exchange to break through. So if rook c1, queen takes e5. That looks kind of scary. But you might, you know, you might have some kind of saving moves. Like queen f2, queen f6. For example, queen, you know, you're on the bishop, so I can't move away from it. Look, this is a lost position for black. I mean, your king is out in the middle of the board. And it's a matter of calculation. You know, there's no way that black's surviving here unless white makes a blunder. So Mr. Coffee, you know, take the pawn at your risk. He plays this first, queen d7, rook c1. You can't get developed. You're basically in like Zugzwang. I wonder if it's worth considering just like jettisoning a pawn here. I wonder if this would even, would it hurt to like give him an extra pawn? Would it help? You know, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think it hurts, but I don't think it helps. Rook b8, b3, this very, very slow process. Yeah, there's no way. I guess, was h6 strictly necessary? You played h6 to stop bishop g5. No, I mean, yeah, you're trapped. You're trapped, man. You can't play bishop e7. It's lost for black. It must be like +4. It's like exactly +4. Rook c7. What did I say? Did I call it? It's exactly +4. It must be like +4. I'm like Hans. I like secretly look up the evaluation with my handheld computer and then like I pretend to take credit for it. Sledgy just looks at the position instantly. I know the computer evaluation. Sludge Neiman confirmed. Exactly 4. It's about +4. All right. h6. That's just another way to die. Oh yeah, he can do that, of course. He just won the exchange. Okay, a good practical try. Mr. Coffee said he learned his lesson. Well, I certainly hope so. Mr. Coffee, by the way, like, you know, I think you're pretty new to playing the classical French, so you need to play more chess. My humble opinion. You need to play more chess. All right. More chess means more knowledge. Tob, kartya tob eshe. More cards, more money. Alright. It's like, that's why everyone plays Omaha. Kakatiri. Krakatoa. Alright, I just put his name in there. He's got his own special. His special study. Yay! Please, may I submit yesterday's, wow, I didn't even realize. Yesterday's OTB game. 1674 ECF. I have no idea how the new ECF ratings like correspond to, say, US chess or FIDE. You know, the US, I mean, the ECF ratings, the ECF has only recently taken on the sort of modern ELO or rating system, so I would be like kind of reticent to put too much faith in ECF, you know, new rating system till it's been in place for a while. Yesterday's game. Did you specify? I guess that's game 12? I mean, should I assume it's game 12? But you're here to tell me. If it's yesterday, it must be. They're trying to like have it correspond to FIDE. It's like in USCF, like theoretically it's the same system, but there are slight differences, I guess, and maybe more inflation. Alright. So you're white. Alex is playing knight f3 based repertoire. It's been so long since I tried to stay away from knight f3. I was like really, it was kind of weighing me down. I mean, I was playing knight f3 all the time, and I think it was stunting my creative. We're talking about playing knight f3 for years. I've gotten away from it a little bit. Okay, so c5, c4, e6. Obviously, if black plays c5, you know, you can play a Sicilian with white. That's why they call it the Sicilian invitation. c4, e6. You know, okay, so you see e6 here. I mean, this is actually pretty uncommon. I mean, I feel like if people wanted to play, if they wanted to play the Queen's Gambit, they would play e6 on move 1 against knight f3. You know, so that's why this is kind of rare. I mean, what is your opponent trying to do? If he wanted to play the Tarrasch or something, you know, probably he would play e6, d5, and then like c5. He would invite you to play a Queen's Gambit. It's a little bit less common to see c5, e6. Normally you would see one of the knights out here. What I typically do would be either play knight c3 or g3. However, if you're playing a réti repertoire, you can't play knight c3 because after d5 you would have to transpose to a Tarrasch. So if you don't intend to transpose to the Queen's Gambit, you have to play either like g3 or e3 or a symmetrical English with d4. So you play d4. This just transposes to a normal kind of symmetrical English if black takes. However, he has the option to play kind of Benoni, so we get Benoni here. He could also play d5, by the way. No, actually, come to think of it, I mean, are you sure you want to play like this? If you're playing the knight f3 repertoire, you know, maybe, I don't know. I was expecting you to go more of like a g3 type of thing. Alright, so d4, potentially transposing to a Queen's Gambit or Benoni. Straight up réti players can't do this. You're going to get an English. Knight c3 dubious. It's not dubious. The computer claims d5 is best. Naturally, d5 is good if you know the theory, but black can play the Blumenfeld and stuff. I mean, this is very sharp. There's also the Benoni. You can't play d5 without knowing extensive theory. So knight c3 is not truly dubious. I actually had trouble recommending a repertoire for black here in my Budapest series for the chess world. I ended up recommending something kind of random, like pawn takes pawn, and bishop c5. I think this was my suggestion. It's just a really obscure variation to try to keep black's, memorization down to a minimum. But now black plays d5, and you've got a queen's gambit. After cd, it's a semi-tarash. So ed is... They used to be considered inaccurate. Like, black's not supposed to bring out the other knight first. But I think the reality is that it doesn't really matter. It's not correct, really. This isn't a bad position for black. It's okay. It's not a big mistake. They thought in, like, Rubinstein's era, I think they thought this move order was like inaccurate for black, but technically there's nothing wrong with it. That's not exactly true. But knight takes d5 is way safer. And now after e4, black has to trade pieces. He has less space. He has to trade pieces. So this is a catastrophe. Against one of my former teammates for 1 year. We just played with Hoi Min last month in my GM tournament. It's been a month. It's been like 6 weeks ago. He's a nice guy. Yeah, somebody played this against him. This is a weird move. He chose to play bishop f4 here. That's actually a really kind of weird move. I don't think like bishop f4 would have entered my mind, but it's probably not bad. Maybe it's actually very strong. I don't know. He's taking advantage of the unprotected nature of that bishop, or sorry, whatever it is, a knight on c7. That's interesting. What does the computer say? Bishop f4 is up there. He's had some good results. Like, he's very solid. He had draws with ridiculously strong players. Yeah, bishop f4 is top move along with d5. That's an interesting idea. Black played bishop to d6. This is like this guy just making up openings. Wow. And now white played bishop e3. That's even weirder. That is so bizarre. I would think, like, Chess Ebra, welcome. There's got to be something better than bishop e3. I mean, I don't know, anything. Bishop g5. I mean, this has got to be a reasonable move. Worst case scenario, black plays bishop e7. I can't believe white's best move is bishop e3 here. Oh, error loading game. Why is it giving me that? Dude, get out of here. I don't want to analyze the whole game. I just want to see this position. No, bishop f4, bishop d6. Wow, dude, that's insane. Bishop e3 is up there. Okay, he's attacking c5. Wow. That is an amazing move. I don't think I would have found bishop e3. And it's hard to take such an obscure position seriously. Alright, anyways. The other move is good too. I think black is like a tempo short of a playable position here. What he's going to try to do now is Queen's Gambit Accepted style thing where you... Oh, I should actually tell you guys, I played this position once with knight f6. I actually have a game in the database. But all I can say is that like knight f6 is probably better than knight c7. In all honesty. I think it's safe to conclude that This square is better than this square. We're in the center. We're controlling, you know, 2 central squares. It's protected 2 times. It's near my king. I like it. You know, I don't like knight c7. The other possibility is knight b6, and I think that's also not as good, probably, but playable. I think I like knight c7 the least of those 3. d5, black takes. No, that was my game with Mihawk. Yeah, knight f6, d5. I was thinking about this move as interesting. It's like a Queen's Gambit accepted style variation. But yeah, that was the game. He takes d5, bishop d6. My game is the first on the list. I got a bad position, but I survived. But I wouldn't want to play this again, to be honest. It was a one trick pony. I just played this like to take my opponent out of book for that one game. Alright, so this is critical now. The knight c7 stops bishop b5 check. And he's got a solid blockade of the d6 square. But I think there is a flaw here. Like potentially knight e4 could be... What's the advantage of knight c7 versus knight f6? It stops bishop b5 and knight b5, but it leaves e4 open. So if you think about it logically, this possibility exists. I'm not saying like we do it right away, but it has to be on the menu. So here you play bishop g5, a very interesting move. That's romantic. It's like, what would, I don't know, Chigorin have played? Yeah, bishop g5. We want to provoke f6. Provoking f6 is great. So I'm gonna go out on a wild hunch here. There's some tactical problem with bishop e7. Right, Morphe. The first question is bishop e7. The problem is the captures is check. So we probably have to go Hoin Min style and just be like, aha, we were just kidding, you know. Now I'm going to move the bishop to a different square. For example, bishop f4. Threatening, by the way, the crushing d6. And now if you go back, I have queen e2 check, and you'll be forfeiting your right to castle. Although at the end of the day, the evaluation of this is not necessarily that easy. There could be some insane shit. This could become a very, very crazy game. I mean, maybe White will even think about castling queenside. I wouldn't be surprised some really psycho attacking players with the White would do something crazy involving castles queenside in the subsequent play. The other possibility is queen d7. And I think this also deserves consideration. But again, queen e2 check, black has to play king f8. But, you know, there's more to life than castling. This does look kind of nasty. But, I mean, concrete analysis, you know, here we're attacking 2 pieces. What are you going to do? It's very sharp. Crazy stuff could happen. Castle's queenside. I assume White's better, but you've got to be like really accurate. This is not a no-brainer. It weakens Black's light squares. Now bishop e3. I don't see an alternative. Asterbate would have probably played knight h4. Alright, here And now black has an issue with this diagonal. I think this looks pretty scary. Like we're piling up. It looks like a kind of bad diagonal, but I guess black can still play f5. It's like a weird e takes f Caro-Kann where there's no pawn on f7. I'm sure that white is better, but it's not so easy. And like, what are you going to do? So he plays this move. This is absolutely mental. That's like the worst move I ever saw. It's up there in like the top 20 bad moves. If black, I don't know. That's grotesque. He's got a castle, man. I mean, alternatives? Yeah, I guess we have alternatives. The problem is like bishop g4, queen here, check. Queen d7. I'm not sure. I don't know. He has a lot of light square weaknesses in this position. But I think castling is the normal move. I'm not really of the opinion that black is necessarily in big trouble. Because when we try to set up any sort of stuff here, he's just going to play f5. And I don't really love this bishop on e3. You know, I'm not even sure white's better by that much. I mean, this is a tough, very complex position. Bishop d3 or queen c2. But black will play f5 at some point anyway. So it's still a tough game. But this is crazy. That's just insane. I guess the other knight is like less... If you're going to move one of the knights, why not the one that's on the back rank? And at least keep a little bit of control of b5. It's still a bad move, but not as bad. This is extra bad. And now you play bishop c4. Okay. Bishop c4 also not a mistake, but probably like not the most crushing move. It's all about the light squares. Now you have access to that. In accuracy, queen a4 was best. Okay. There's a lot of good moves here for white. Bishop e5 check. I guess the one thing that you maybe don't like is this. I don't know. Even that's probably not good for black. There's no such thing as a bad move here for white. Bishop c4, castles. This is the main issue, I think. I mean, it's true, like, the bishop is restricted here. h3 I understand. Okay, I guess it's fine for white. I mean, you're going to castle. And if he pushes his f-pawn, you know, you'll just back it up. Right. Really weird play by black. But okay, this is a thinking move. Steinitzian School of Defense. So white to play. You got like a3, that's a useful move. I'm not really afraid of bishop h5. I mean, you could probably play g4 if you had to. You can also bring your bishop back. I mean, you have options. I kind of like this move. I guess it's a little slow. On the more aggressive side, you have knight here, but you've got to watch for b5. The computer says like rook c1 is best. I mean, give me a break. I wouldn't even consider that move. If you're playing Connect 4, like rook c1 is best, but it's hard to see this. This is a computer move. I mean, it must be seeing some lines where it's like doing this later on, but I mean, there's no way a human being should play rook c1 here. Hans, maybe. Okay, knight d2. The computer says it's a mistake. You're looking at like e4. You can meet f5 with f4. There's some ideas. here. And notice he kept control of b5. This knight stayed on c3. He keeps control of b5. The other knight goes to e4. Black should have probably played like f5, right? Of course. I mean, I've been waiting for this move for like 100 moves. It's not just about f4. He has to keep control of this. Playing like a blockade strategy. It's not lost for black. But that's just does nothing. I talked about this a million years ago. And now b6. Now white played f4. Because white feels like an impetus to do something. But what about just like queen d2? I think you're threatening to take his bishop and then jam this bishop into f4 for one thing. This also connects your rooks. What I think you have to realize is like how good your position is. White has a massive advantage now. After b6, I think white's advantage, yeah, I mean it says 4.9. That's a little exaggerated, but it's big. It's really big. It's a question of, yeah, knight takes e6, queen takes e6. White is not +5 here in a human game. I'm sorry. You know, if you pit two 1700s against each other, white is not going to win enough percentage to bear that out. You know, if you take average chess players, I don't think white's going to win enough games versus black to really like make this so-called +5 evaluation stand up. The concrete advantage is just not that great. You know, it's more of like a positional advantage that's not that easily like realized. It's a rook. You know, the computer is claiming like white is up a rook here. But it's not a tangible advantage like a rook is. I'm not an expert on computer programming, but I think like we always have to like cut the stockfish evaluations down in half. You know, I think half is like reasonable. Let's say white is better by 2.4 in this position. Mostly like strategic, protected, you know, powerful, not a protected pawn, but heavily guarded, you know, powerful pass pawn on d5. More space, safe king. Okay, +2. f4, computer hates it. But I think like part of the problem here is that we need to, what's the key to the position? What are you going to do? Like g4, g5 and checkmate him? No. What if we play like king h1, rook g1, and g4, g5? We play for mate. No, seriously. How do we break through? The key to the position is the pawn structure. And, you know, taking out that bishop and then breaking his blockade. I think that's the single most important thing in this position. The protected, I keep saying protected pass pawn. It is protected, but not by another pawn. The pass pawn, the powerful pass pawn, the PPP, and the blockade of said pass pawn is the key to the position. So why is f4 a mistake? I mean, it slightly weakens white's king side, but I think the plan is like queen d2, and then we take this out, and we're going to play bishop f4. We've knocked out his blockade, and still it's not easy, you know. It's still not easy to win. Alright. But white still has a massive advantage even without that. I would probably want to be on the safe side with this a4 stuff. So, I mean the b5 stuff, I would probably play a4. Thinking about that, he'll probably play a6. You've got a5. It could get very weird. Yeah, that's probably not so good. Alright. Queen d3, totally normal move. a6, totally normal move. a4, totally normal move. Okay, next. King h8. Rook ae1, totally normal move. It's basically a Schmid-Benoni. And the next thing he's going to be coming with like rook a7 in the acerbate maneuver. It's all about b5. I mean, I just went over this game the other day with one of my students. It's a Schmid playing black. I can't remember off the top of my head who was white, but a strong player with white against Lothar Schmid. Same themes, you know, black's getting in that b5 and trying to siege the pawn on d5. The battle is there. Take, queen takes, f5, and we're trying to play this, right? Get control of the square in front of the pawn. I mean, b5 is covered by 47 pieces, but it might be able to decoy you from keeping d5 protected. So black now, according to the computer analysis. By the way, guys, if you send me games, it's better if it's not analyzed. It doesn't confuse us so much. I'd rather have just a naked PGN, and it doesn't make me biased about certain moves and stuff. But I think the key is this access with bishop f4. It looks like white's winning. The point is he has knight d7. Oh my god. Wow. So black in this position, after all the shit he's been through, he has a chance to play knight d7, complete his development, and block bishop f4 with knight e5. Okay, he was also scared of knight e4, no doubt. I mean, you have this, and you have this. So you have two ways to mess with him. Undoubtedly, he was afraid of this. This is a situation where maybe black sacks the exchange, right? I was already thinking about doing it there. You know, there might be a necessity to play like rook e5. But I guess the idea would be f5, knight d7, knight e4, smack, takes, and then like try to take this. Now, could black possibly survive if he takes out the d5 pawn? You know, some kind of thing where he's down the exchange. Probably not, you know, but it's a try. You know, he might have chances to survive. Finding some sort of exchange sack. But I mean, yeah, he has to try this. I mean, on knight e4, what else is he gonna do? This looks horrible. But you know, I guess you do have knight e5 coming. But clearly queen d8, bishop f4. I mean, white might even be threatening like rook e6 or something. And I guess black's just losing a pawn now. I didn't see the engine suggestion of queen g3. So it's not so clear. If rook e8, bishop takes e8, and the bishop bounces back to actually guard that pawn there. You might have to give up your dark-square bishop in order to win a pawn. And then it would be like a technical ending. But you see how the story of the game is that passer and the blockade of said passer. Yeah, I mean, rook e6 is fun. After bishop f4, if black makes like a random move here, I mean, this is definitely a consideration. You gotta consider this. I mean, it's too connected past pawns, bro, and my queen is protected. So any sort of situation like this is it's over. You know, I mean, this is totally game over. Rook e6 is classic support point. Oh, that variation I just put in there. Okay, b5, seeking counterplay, take. You took with the bishop. Bishop takes, knight takes. I don't want to lose the d5 pawn. Are we going to lose the d5 pawn? We're not going to lose it. Okay. We're not going to lose it. What about queen takes? Anyway, we're not going to lose it. Okay. Because of back rank mate. He never completely resolved his development yet. Well, he did, but he unresolved it. Did that knight move? Now you took control of the blockading square. It's kind of funny, man. How did this happen to the poor guy? He had formerly blockaded d6. He lost control of d6. That's really sick. Phew. That's impressive. Yeah, you've got a perfect position. There's no way black survives. No one comes out alive. No, it's not. It's not perpetual check. Alright. Good game, Cockatieri. I think the computer kind of makes it look like, you know, you didn't play well, but I still think it wasn't a bad game overall. Alright, going back. Study. Thank you for Astrobai's gift to Splashar. I have to leave you for a moment. We will be back in just a couple minutes. Taking a short break here. We'll leave off with, I don't know, I suddenly got lag. Wow, my ping is 653. Ping break. I want to take a short break. We'll be back with Masta Chess Kudo after this. Sorry guys, we're back. Brief time out there. We got 2 games left. Masturbate. Alright, masturbate. Chess Zebra. You went to what? 3D Avatar? The local tough guy got up and told me to make my 3 kids and their friend quieter. Oh, it's brutal, dude. Oh my god. The local tough guy in the movie theater. What's next? Alright, so this is the mysterious mass debate. Actually, it doesn't matter. Alright, let's go. E4, E5. F4. Colonoscopy guy. Yeah, so this is a variation. Queen h4 check. I had a friend who used to play this against me. My best friend growing up, I would experimentally play the King's Gambit. Yeah, Queen h4 check. It's kind of interesting. Offbeat move. King e2. Anyone? It's interesting. Let's see. I haven't seen one of these in 30 years. Queen h4 check, g3, queen e7. Oh no. It must be Hans. Black trolling his opponent, who's a 2200, with bishop e7. G takes h4, bishop takes h4 check. King e2, d5. This is a 3-minute game. What's the best move for black here? Very serious chess here. F5. Right. I don't know, but the accuracy must be in Hans territory. Knight c3 castles. And now you don't take, but rook h e8. So we get a piece back with pawn takes f3, but it's only one piece, so that's not going to save us. If you played h6, rook d8, king d8, rook d1 check, king c8, b4. So you can't even like get back your sacrificed piece because it will just simplify into a lost ending. That's some serious stuff there. b5, g takes f4. And now we have double check. Now white needs to start being careful, I think. Black to move. I wonder if it's black to move, how serious is the danger here at this point? But white to move, I'm sure he's okay. I would be a little concerned if it was black's turn. White decides to play knight takes e4. I'm not real sure about this. I would honestly like expect I was gonna say rook takes e4, but it's still possible to just sack the queen. And white is, well, there is this. I mean, white is up the exchange, but Okay, this is not... No, he hangs a piece. Very interesting. There's still some danger. King b8. Knight takes h4. Bishop takes d1. Bishop takes f4. Rook f8. Here. 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 Check. Yeah, it's looking like one of Hans's games from the US Championship. Similar to his game with Christopher Yu from the first round. How accurate is Black's play in this game? I mean, you obviously made some mistakes in the opening there, losing your queen. What's the accuracy? 0 inaccuracies. 1 mistake, 1 blunder, 86 accuracy. Basically a perfect game. Except for the fact that, you know, you gave him a queen. It looks like a computer played after move 3. Basically. According to the engine. Anyways. Alright, serious chess only. Chess kudo. Sorry for delaying your serious game here. Alright, well that was interesting. Yeah, I mean, I always like getting in, you know, fights with people with my kids around. I'm usually pretty good about not doing that, but once I got into it with almost got into a fight with landscapers who were like cutting down trees in my neighbor's yard that I felt were endangering my house. What happened to ambulance sounds? It's late. You know, they're much more common in the daytime. Doesn't that mean you guys made good decisions in position with forcing moves? Have to talk to the great Ken Regan. I think he's a little overrated. Alright, we've got chess kudo. Let's take it from white side. I don't want a computer analysis. Not just yet. Thank you. Alright, c4, e6, knight c3, d5. Classical Queen's Gambit approach to the English. We got a Queen's Gambit now. Exchange variation. Yeah, I mean, technically knight f3 is a pretty serious inaccuracy. Like, white is supposed to play either bishop g5 or bishop f4. You might not think it's a big deal, but I remember David Grigo, rest in peace, used to play the semi-Slav with black. But he would allow these Queen's Gambit exchange variations. Rather than go into a Slav exchange, he felt his chances against people who were playing for a draw. It was better to beat them in the imbalanced pawn structure than the pure Slav exchange. So Grigo was like having to beat people playing for a draw here, and this is the kind of move they would play. So it's c6. Yeah, this is accurate. This is really important. You're threatening like bishop f5. If queen c2, you have like knight a6, right? Isn't that it? I'm not an expert for either side here. I've probably played this with white. No, I've played occasionally for both colors, but I was thinking knight a6. In the old days, like seeing Grigo play people playing for draws. I mean, knight a6 with the idea of knight b4. Sometimes queen b6. Black is like better. He's like better already. You would see, yeah, this is what they do. They're like pathetic losers playing a3. Rajabov playing white against Dubov. He beat him too. I mean, I guess against an aggressive player like Dubov, you can do the bullfighter thing where you're actually trying to encourage him to go crazy by playing something kind of slow. But for the most part, it's like people playing for a draw with the white pieces. Sarawan winning against Ippolito. Sarawan. I mean, this is lame for white. Alright. But our hero, his opponent played an even worse move, I think. A3, well, Queen C2 is definitely better. But G3, so this is a classic thing. I mean, basically what it is, after G3, I mean, don't we get essentially an exchange Caro-Kann? I mean, as a defense, I think white's position isn't that bad. But only as a defense. Like, he has no really good forward plan of attack, but it's just like you could get a solid position. So I guess bishop f4. No one played bishop f4 here. That is so crazy. Why not bishop f4? Ah, somebody played it. Of course Shababa played it, man. Yeah. Who else is going to play bishop f4? Joe Mama. But it totally makes sense, you know. Like, passive losers don't play bishop f4. But, I mean, that's probably white's best move, objectively. You're playing according to the needs of the position. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, Mr. Coffee. But Jabava understands chess. He's just a little crazy, you know, but he's not going to play like a chicken. What happens sometimes is that the white king isn't safe. I mean, this is normally like an exchange Caro-Kann with reverse colors. So since you're not castled, you could theoretically try to bust him. You could try to bust him with like h6 and g5. No, this is the idea. Just like, where does white put his king? If he tries to castle kingside, you'll do g5 on him. But I don't think you have to exchange on f4. And I'm not sure you should even play bishop d6. I mean, if bishop f4 is a good move, I mean, you should really look at the Caro-Kann to see how the people on the white side of the... You should check and see how the people on the white side of the exchange Caro-Kann play these kind of positions. You could actually borrow ideas from them, you know. That's what you're playing. But essentially, you have another option, which is bishop f5. You could say, alright, I'm just going to claim my diagonal, and you're not going to do rook b1, and you're not going to get your minority attack. I mean, who's played this with white? Milinovic, this other guy that I don't even know, Borko, Korejitsa. But nobody like really strong would ever touch this position with white. Average grandmaster or low rated grandmaster at best would ever play this with white. Because white just has nothing. Like, white is theoretically slightly worse. What do you guys want to bet on the what do you want to bet on the evaluation here? Anybody? I'm going with like -0.1. Yeah. I'm probably going to be wrong. I've been known to be wrong before, but I'm going to say it's like -0.1. Chess Kudo is very close. He said -0.2. My computer is weak. My computer really can't be, completely trusted. I feel like the Price is Right. Oh! Oh no! I just stop it. Like when it's on the evaluation I want, I did it again. Oops. I did it again. It's not really fair. I can just like stop it where I want to stop it. It was like on point 4 and then I stopped it on point 1. Yeah, it's rigged. Isn't that a good trick? I control the evaluation. Hans is doing it, secretly from St. Louis. Yeah, the iPad. Yeah, I wouldn't use like my phone for analysis. My computer is weak enough. But the moral of the story is that black is actually microscopically better. It's just for fun. 0.2, 0.1, whatever. White doesn't have a plan. White, without a minority attack on the queen side, all he can do is just kind of defend, So I guess bishop f5. You don't have to play bishop e6 anyway. Who cares? Like, what are you doing? You're attacking the g3? You're going to, like, attack the stone structure there with bishop d6? It's a waste of time anyway. And it's your good bishop, so why trade it for the bishop on f4? Bishop f5 is best, and then just follow up with, like, natural moves. Probably knight... You're playing the London, by the way. For those of you that don't... Yeah, you're playing the London. Yeah, he can do knight h4, and you'll probably have to go back, like, here. So I would play maybe knight on bd7. If he tries knight h4, see, there's people who did knight h4. You go here, and you do what those London guys do. They're gonna transfer to this g6 type of thing. We'll do like f3, g6, bishop g7, and we'll bring our pressure down on. I mean, I'm not an expert because I don't, I make fun of the London all the time, but I've seen enough games to understand how this goes. If white tries something funky, by the way, he doesn't have a natural square to fall back on, which is a kind of important idea if they put the knight on h4. With the knight on h4, you kind of like to have that knight that can go back to g2. So anyway, you played bishop e7. I mean, bishop e7 is good. There's nothing wrong with bishop e7. I think like bishop f5 maybe like a tiny bit better. Everyone played bishop g2 here for white, but maybe... Yeah, I mean, maybe queen c2 is not even good. Like, you just go g6 anyway and threaten bishop f5. I don't know. There's some tactical details, like bishop h6 or something. Shandor Farago against Boguslavsky. It's unbelievable. They both lost like 100 rating points. Alright. Just 100, not too bad. So, alright. Bishop g2. Bishop f5. I think you should claim your diagonal. Castle. Now you played it. Better late than never. And now see, knight h4 is the main move in the master database. If you want to be like real fancy, you could play h6. But I have issues with it. It's weakening. It weakens the g6 square. It's going to be hard to kick your knight out of e5. No, I don't like it. You have a lot of other ways to play. Like, you don't have to play bishop f5. You could also just do like classical, old school rook e8 here. But I think bishop f5 makes sense because it stops him from doing rook b1, b4, b5 minority attack. And this is classic. a3 is really weak. So, important moment now. I had a student who had a very similar game. We analyzed a couple years ago, almost the exact same position. And I think he did a5. I mean, it kind of makes sense, you know. If we can stop him and maybe set up this type of thing. Like, here's a random game with some 2200s where White played like queen b3, but I mean, honestly, this queen looks really artificial. I'm not really fully buying this. Rook a7. But let's just see. a5, queen b3. Is there another way we can play here? Can we trap his queen? I'm just curious, like, what would happen if you played rook a6? He probably has knight a4. That's just awkward. Yeah, it's interesting. It would be a different story if her knight was on d7. Which kind of takes me back to, like, before. You know, would it be better to establish, like, the earlier bishop f5 here, the earlier knight d7 here, the earlier bishop e7? Look at the score here. Like, check it out. Yeah, I don't like queen c8 there, though. If you play the order of moves differently, though, let's say we don't castle, you know, automatically. The score here is like no wins for White in 12 games. Mainly because, like, good players don't play this way with White. But let's say he does a3, and now Black castled. Now there's, you know, there's a good combination. Bela Lengyel, 1976, when he was young, and, you know, go on to become a really solid IM. And this guy named Kozul, kind of a legend in the Balkans. You got good company here, but neither of them played a5. Interestingly, Kozul's just a legendary player, and Bela was a really expert player in the black side of the Queen's Gambit declined. But I'm interested in how it went down if White plays b4 next. Were they thinking about doing this? Maybe Black shifts to a Yasser Seirawan like Kasparov thing with that. Both castled. But White didn't play b4. In either case, White played b4. Black's like a full pawn up, according to the computer. Wow, dude. A full pawn up? Seriously? Damn, dude. Knight b6. It just doesn't like this. For example, knight e5. Now a5. b5. c5. Now, it's complicated. I mean, it's not so simple, you know. I don't know. Again, like, I think you really have to always, like, be cautious with the engine. The real question is, like, do we need to play a5 or not? Is a5 a mistake? How about the move in the other game? See, here you have queen b6, negating his threats. That's an interesting point, you know. This is not protected. This can be protected by the knight. So if your knight's already on d7, you have the ability to answer queen b3. You have the ability to play, here you have the ability to play a5, queen b3, queen b6. Solving your problems. It's interesting. Anyway, alright. White's only plan is like f3 and e4, by the way. But I think after a3 he should play b4. Why did he not play b4 right away? You know, obviously at this point you can play a5 now, and meet that with queen b6. I mean, you know, maybe you didn't want to play a queen trade, but White's like pretty much reduced to playing like, yeah, White's just worse here. At this point, you know, he's got reduced to this where he just has less space. And White's kind of like fighting for a draw. You have bishop d3. He's seriously worse now. But anyway, let's see what happened. So, alright, e3 passive, rook e8, b4 now, and yeah, so you reacted kind of like ultimately reacted with a passive plan yourself. A natural but slightly passive plan. So if we look back on the analysis, what we prefer to do, what you would prefer to do, is play a more active combination of like a5, b5, c5, something like that. But this e3 stabilizes him a little bit in the center. Anyway, a6. You have b5, knight b6, knight c4, classic like implantation on c4. And that's what you did. You went for it. Right. Yeah. Right. No, I mean, I agree. Like, once he puts his bishop on b2, yeah, you had even more reason to play the b5, like, sink a knight on c4 plan. But I think you kind of snuck up on him with a6. You know, because, like, I think a lot of people would have maybe had a tendency to go b5 right away. And you sort of tricked him. I mean, you played a6, and he's probably thinking, all right. If the guy wanted to play b5, he would probably just do it right away. So he probably started thinking like, oh, you're not going to do b5 because you did a6. But then you turn around and do b5 anyway. And you're threatening knight b6 and knight c4. Yeah, I agree with you. Once he puts his bishop on b2, I mean, I don't really want to do c5. So now he's got a problem. So he has to do like the Saruman thing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's this famous game where Saruman was white, and he drew with Kasparov in a bishop g5 king Grunfeld, where they had the structure, you know, the same structure, but Kasparov was like slightly better. He was basically, Saruman was like groveling for a draw. Was my impression of that game. You know, yeah, like Gary gets the knight on c4, and Yasser is just trying to like hold a draw. After that, I mean, White can try to do the same thing where he gets his own knight on c5. So it can get pretty complex. But this, you know, I'm not sure. It seems to me like the only idea for White here is to try to do his own knight c5, or possibly e4. You know, if that were a possibility, but he doesn't have enough control of e4. So it looks to me like this is clear. You also have bishop d3 though here. We're playing knight here, and I mean maybe he can try to play for e4. I think that's a normal Tartakover thing. Black plays like c6, and then you can try to break out with e4. Hello, are you too late? I got my beer on, Nefidov. Our favorite Belgian beer place was open last night. I was just happy to tell you that. They had been closed for a long time. So I walked by and it was open. It was nice to see that. Yeah, but I think White has to be proactive here. Knight d2, fighting for control of e4 with the alternative idea of knight b3. Yeah, maybe you're playing, I don't know, bishop f8, trying to bear down more on that. There's a lot of moves. I think I contributed for beer. For the beer well? Your Twitch does not show anything. Yeah, my Twitch is acting weird. I'm not seeing these donations. It's not the only thing that's not working lately. My camera is acting weird. No, it's not a brewery, just a Belgian beer pub. But it was closed for a long time. Good to see them back in business. So rook c1 is bad. Really bad. Here. Queen b3, this is... The white needs a plan, and he doesn't have one. This is a face plant right here, and now you're not going to be arriving too late to the party with a5. Suddenly white is like almost lost. Oh, how much did I spend there? I will offset that with an invisible contribution. Just two Belgian beers. It was like, I don't know how much. Approximately 1,800 forints. I think I gave them 2,000. So what is that? Is that? It was less than I don't know, $8 or it's less than $7. It was something like $7. No. Beer, I mean, it's cheap here. It was less than $10. All right. I don't remember. It was under two. Yeah, it was under 2,000. It was less than $10. Yeah, I'll be honest. Man, this is over. You know, White's last two moves. Clueless and Clueless. The number one move for White is knight d2. Like, what other move are you gonna play? 2,000 Dogecoin. Should I sell my Dogecoins? I think here now, I want to take a brief time out. There's a very important dynamic, which is the a5 break. Like, you have an advantage here, but more importantly, like, we might want to do this, but we have to calculate like the ramifications of this. Like, you always got to watch out for the like sneaky a4. I had that happen twice against me. Once against Delugi, and once against this guy Kristolovich. Sometimes you think you're like breaking, but then they are breaking you, you know, and it suddenly like destroys your whole position. You have to be very careful. But I don't think it works. Like, in this case, clearly, like, White is screwed. There's no a4, so he has to react passively. And we're just opening up the a file when we want to open the a file. I mean, like, knight e5, okay. There are plenty of moves we can make. Black has to be better here. I mean, I don't know how much better, but black is better. There are tons of moves. Queen c8. I guess that's a weird square. I was going to say this. Do we have to do the betting on the advantage again? Anybody? How much better is black in this position with the outpost knight on c4? I mean, is like White can't even play f4. You think 1.5? This is the price is right. You can't go over. I feel like the knight on e5 is giving me a headache. Last try for guessing the advantage. I've been perfect twice. Silent contribution to the beer fund. Knight e5 offsets I think you're too low, Chessy, bro. Black is still definitely better. I'm going to go with 0.9. 9/10 of a pawn. Better for black here. I have a bad feeling, though. I've been right twice. And... Ooh. Wow. What was that? It was wow. It was wow. I'm way off. Not even close. I was still closer than Chess Zebra. Yeah. That's crushing. 2.5 pawns. Well, anyway, it was my analysis variation. But I don't think that white has a better move. You know, I think he's screwed. White is, like, strategically lost after a5. Would be my evaluation. There are other moves. Okay, there's, like, knight a2. Which almost loses by force. It does lose by force. Oh my god. Wow. Look at that. This is sick or what? That's sick. Okay, that's not an option. Yeah, it's terrible, man. I mean, he's done. He had to play knight d2. This is the only move. Well, no, it's too late. Last move, he had to play knight d2. You know, so you, like, slightly let him off the hook. I mean, like, in general, I think trading pieces is not a good idea when you're better. Nefedov have a game. Yeah, I have time. Especially after your contribution. For an old friend. Please submit here to my message box. Thank you for the silent beer contribution. I mean, a5's on the way, I hope. We're hoping a5's on the way. My rook, your rook loves you. This is such a sick move. I mean, bishop a1. Oh my god. Dude, this is sick, dude. What is the queen doing anywhere, man? This is why you don't play g3 on the white side of the exchange queen's gambit. Now, I feel you went completely off. Like, Hans would never play this move. Again, we have, like, shades of Hans versus Christopher Yu here. Very similar the way black owns the queen side and the king side. Tell me he doesn't play like an engine. Say what you want, you know. Look at his last game. Bishop d6. You got this side and this side. And you've got a5 and you got, you know, potential attack on the other side too. So I think this is kind of a weird move. Because you're getting in the way of your pawns. And you're not, you know, you're taking your bishop off this diagonal. On d6, your bishop can support, you know, both a5 and f5, f4. I think you were too conscious of. Listen, Chesquito, I think you were too conscious of this. You mentioned earlier that, you know, you didn't want to play c5. It almost like it's like you're conscious of negating his bishop or something. And he gets in a4, and now it's too late for you to play a5. Wow. So that's huge. So white is like alive for the first time in a long time. That is a huge move. a4 changes everything, and that's why he moved his bishop. He moved his bishop to make it possible, you know, so his queen could capture on a4. So at this point you have to kind of change your mentality, I guess, to more of like a stonewall attack. It looks like you're just holding on the queen side, and then you gotta try to You got to try to storm him on the king side with the Bafenik like Stonewall Dutch. But h6 I'm not excited by. Now he played a5. Okay, we're all in. Bringing this rook over. There goes the queen side. So classic Queen's Gambit exchange variation, you know, your pawn is on d5, but it's like pointing toward e4. So this is your side. Like basically this side here is your side. And the other side is his side. And you're going to, like, because you control the e4 square, you're going to attack on your side, and he's going to attack on his side. But his side is closed off. So you're basically going to take a penalty kick here and just try to, like, pummel him on the king side now. I mean, b4 is kind of a weakness, but it's probably not going to fall. Queen e7. Right, this is a good move. He can bring it back here. g5, h5, you're doing generally the right thing. Just don't lock it up. You want to grab space but not lock it up. He trades off his guardian, bishop, okay. Now you play g4, but I'm a little bit hesitant to do that. It's the right color complex, but there's a chance the position gets very locked after this. We don't have any piece sacrifices. You misplayed the position, but you're still better. If he plays h4 and tries to lock it, I mean, you're close to something here. If, say, you had your, like, queen on f5 and your rook on a7, e7, you know, you'd probably be winning. But your pieces aren't quite, they're not quite active enough to be winning by, like, a direct sacrifice. For white, I wouldn't know, though, you know, if he should do h4 or hg or what. Maybe rook h1 is, like a consideration for white too. So he takes, he just trades everything. Interesting. Queen e, this is a good move. Queen e4 check. He probably missed it, cutting him off, and now b takes. Yeah, but now, like, all endings are good for you because this pawn is, like, fatally weak. Even with the queens traded, you might be winning. Queen c2. I mean, like, if we trade queens and, like, triple up on b4, it's possible you're even winning there. No, just hypothetically. Like, queen takes queen, rook b8. I don't know. Rook b1. Bishop e7. And then we play, like, rook b5 and double. Here. Or here. Here. Actually, just like this. This. Is he holding this? Maybe he's holding on here. Just barely, you know? But I'm sure we can improve on your play. I mean, you don't have to trade queens either. Like, I mean, it just... You're still clearly better if you trade queens, but I wouldn't trade queens. Oh, that's a great move. Beautiful. Game over. It is game over, right? He has to play e4. What do you do? Bishop g5? It isn't even necessary to do bishop g5 because rook e3, yeah. You're going to win his rook on c1. Not that I'm like saying you should trade queens, but I just wanted to point out that like even in that endgame, like you're clearly better. It's borderline plus 1.2. I mean, no good player would trade queens, but if he could force the trade of queens, you still have good chances to win. Okay, good game. That was very interesting. But it's a good lesson on, why the exchange of pawns in the Catalan isn't good for white. Why the exchange of pawns followed by g3 isn't good. Like, everyone understands that. Jabava understands it too, but he did like bishop f4, his opponent played bishop d6. Interesting. Nefedov, my penultimate over the board game to analyze. Game against Wolverhampton. Game against Wolverhampton. Okay. Got it. It's forced mate. No, but I'm saying he could have played rook e3. How is it forced mate? Oh, it's forced mate? Rook h3, rook e3, rook h8, rook f3. It's not. Alright, I follow you. I didn't realize. You don't win the rook, it's actually forced mate, because his rook on f3 is choking his king in. I'm sorry, I didn't show the end. Exactly. The rook blocks f3, so he can't come out. I thought you were just winning a rook. That would be enough. Wolverhampton. There's a lot of wolves here. Mercia. It sounds like Romania. Murcia? Mercia, partly grass. That's the Romanian league. No, this is in UK. Alright, Wolverhampton. Wolverines. Michigan Wolverines. Never been to Michigan, but they have a cool team name. Alright, this is Nefedov with the black bits. E4, E5, classical chess. Knight f3, knight c6, d4. Ugh. Alright. There's really no alternatives here. I mean, queen f6, I was joking about this. It's a move. If you want to have fun, you can play queen f6. Yeah, I covered that game, Kaleidoscope Guy. It was quite interesting. A little bit off the normal track. Pawn takes d4, bishop c4. So, I was talking to one of my students today, and he said he's invested in Gawain Jones's like repertoire. He has a repertoire series out, like a coffee house repertoire for white, recommending the Jinji attack. I mean, seriously, like, this was all the rage 25 years ago when Roman did the videotapes on VHS, but I find it kind of boring. I mean, I think it's weird to rehash it. But Gawain Jones also recommending that, I feel like it's an inherited thing. He probably like watched those videos when he was young or something like that. I don't know what the story is. But it's perfectly fine system for white, but I don't think really dangerous. Anyways, after this, black also has bishop c5. It seems like nobody plays bishop c5. But it gets, why doesn't anybody play bishop c5? I mean, I feel like everyone plays knight f6. But this move, gets no credit. Like, it's a totally viable variation. Dude, look at that. Kramnik, Karyakin, Dominguez, Caruana, Dominguez, Kramnik. That's a pretty brutal lineup, people playing bishop c5. Maybe this move needs a little more to be like the primary choice. Look at the statistics. Seriously. I mean, that's a sample size. You've got 1,520 games with knight f6, 543 games with bishop c5. Look at the stark difference. That's a significant, like, Mr. Coffee would agree, that is a significant sample size. Why is it that bishop c5 just does way better than knight f6? Why is bishop e4? It's a move. Move 11, it's in the list. But that's a very small sample size. Of course, bishop e4 check is a move. It's kind of like a, it's forcing a kind of Danish gambit, I mean, I think like white has compensation. I wouldn't really like that. No, I mean, I think like bishop e4 check loses the initiative. If you're a computer, it's a perfectly okay move. But I'm more interested in this. Why does this move have such a better score than its counterpart with knight f6? I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense. Like, white has the e5, and he's immediately on your knight, You play bishop c5, what's he going to do? He can't, he can do like a crazy-ass Dubov double pawn sack or something. I mean, this is probably like Paul Morphy on crack. You could play b4, Evans Gambit accelerated. Hyper Evans Gambit. No one's even brave enough to do that. I bet it's in the lichess database. Come on. Yeah. There's 1,000. There's 1,000. This is a Haxo Gambit. No, that's like the general name. Did I see an Astrobate game there? I mean, if the Evans Gambit is playable, this is probably playable too. You could even play like bishop takes b4, check, king f1. You gotta like king f1. But we're getting off the point. Okay, this is Nefedov's game. He plays knight f6. He's a correct player. e5, d5. But now, white plays bishop b5, and Nefedov blundered. You gotta play the Bronstein variation. But look at those statistics. That is crazy. Knight e4 and knight d7. Knight d7 has 1/10 of the number of games. But I mean, seriously, what is the statistical chance that they have exactly the same winning percentages for white and black? Like, seriously, what is that? What is the statistical chance of that? I mean, 47% wins for white with knight e4 to 48. Exactly the same. I like 97 way better. First of all, like, white players tend to not know the line. And secondly, it's just like more complex. Thirdly, Bronstein, recommended in 200 open games. But people are catching on to it after like 100 years, okay? No, like 75 years. Knight e4 is so hackneyed, You have an over-the-board game in 97, okay. I like it. It's cool. It's much more fun. This is so hackneyed, like everyone knows both sides of this like too well. Like Roman Gigiashvili has it all worked out to like move 47. I mean, like literally. It was ridiculous, man. I mean, he was playing games with computers where the first 30 moves were already like all like forced. This is back in 1997 or something like that. I mean, and that was literally like 25 years ago. There were 30 move variations 25 years ago. Imagine now, It's probably like 50 moves. No, knight e4 is respected as perfectly fine, but I think it's too, like, if you're black, it's like too drawish, White knows the lines perfectly. It's worked out to a 47 move draw. I mean, this is the way to play. You've got to play knight d7 and try to go for it, you know, with something more imbalanced. Bishop takes c6, b takes c. And so now if knight takes d4, I'm not sure about this line. Usually white castles, right? I don't know. It's very complicated. There's tons of games. That's a lichess database. All right. Let's go back to reality. Okay, so in reality, the Masters database. Wow. That was like internet reality, and now we go to back to real reality. Look at that statistical. Okay, the sample size is 10%. Again, knight d7 versus knight d4. Knight e4, that was lichess crap. This is Masters database. White's percentage is like plus 33 to 27 with knight e4. But against knight d7, white is 24% wins and 37% losses. It's like night and day, man. Even if like the computer doesn't agree, people just don't know what they're doing against this. It's just a way better practical move. Alright, knight e4, castles. And now, actually, what happened? He's not supposed to play castles, he's supposed to play knight takes d4. And then you can play either bishop d7 or bishop c5, which are both complicated. Wow, okay, castles. What is this? This is interesting. It's like a lesser known sideline. It could be dangerous for black, though. He's delaying capturing the pawn. Yeah, I mean, Kaleidoscope Guide, the main idea is to play knight b8 after knight here. So like castles, bishop e7. The main variation is bishop takes c6, b takes c, knight takes d4, knight b8. And then the pawns like avalanche, and your bishop goes to b7. Here. It's Bronstein's 200 Open Games. I don't know, you know, if it's that simple, but I'm surprised black doesn't have a plus score here, honestly. Look at the zeros. Black actually has a negative score here. That's sort of unbelievable. I would think like black would have a plus score. So c4, I don't know. You need a decent computer, and you need to like go really deep. There's a freaking novelty. Wow. Just to show you how little analyzed this is. There's a freaking novelty, like bishop b7 on move 9 has never been played. The computer draws a differential of 0.1 versus 0. But people are naturally afraid of knight f5. Okay, here. Theoretical novelty. I don't know. But knight b8 stops knight f5. So I guess it's best. Anyway, that's the idea with knight d7. Even if it's not mathematically better than knight e4, I think practically it's still better. I'm sure that Gawain Jones covers it in his book. So Nefedov plays bishop there. Now we just, transpose back? So now we're transposing back. So he kind of like forced you into the bishop c5 style variation. Bishop c6. How many times did I watch like Roman play this in Blitz? I couldn't even bear it anymore. Yeah, I mean, so white's supposed to play bishop e3 or f3. Gingy's whole idea was this pawn duo and the blockade of the dark squares. So you try to set up a Nimzovician blockade of of d4 and c5, and there's also the power of these pawns, the pawn majority for white coming forward on the king side. Who was this Bronstein guy? I heard an interesting anecdote about Bronstein. Sadly, I met him, but I didn't get to talk to him. I mean, I stood next to him, but I never was brave enough to walk up to him and like talk to him or something. But he apparently had, when he was like a young master, he had like an encyclopedia, like a Russian opening encyclopedia of that day, whenever it was, like the 40s or 30s or 40s. And they said that he didn't trust anything in the encyclopedia, so he literally had circled and X'd and crossed out everything in the book. The entire book was like just like, corrections. It's indicative of his like curious personality. Nikita Vityugov played bishop e3 against me. That's like people playing like strong players who played, like Christopher Yu played the London system against Hans Niemann. I don't get it. Like, why would 2600 players play this robotic system with white? You would think like players at the Vityugov level would want to be a little more like creative. I mean, this is such a robotic system for white. Yeah, bishop e3 is normal. And I wasn't even aware that like this is black's main move. I don't know, I don't play it. I would have castled. But apparently f3 is the #1 move. I think that's what Roman played. So you got Jones. Knight g5, f4, knight goes back, and then bishop e3. This is like the main line. But I was really turned off by it. Like everyone played it. It was kind of played to death. A lot of the games ended in draws. And it was just overly trendy for a long time. It's like the London system is now, or has been recently. Nefedov here, you can sack the pawn. Like, this is one of the things like Roman covered in his videos. I don't know what the final analysis is, but you can castle. Maybe that's something you should think about. You don't actually have to defend c6. So it's something with queen h4. I never played it. I just knew about it. Yeah. Yeah, you're too young for VHS. But I think they put them on DVD eventually. Yeah, I had to watch him playing blitz games firsthand, over and over and over again. But this is more dynamic, If you think about it, it makes sense. I think that's the problem with his move order. One of the problems with his move order. If he plays knight takes d4, you probably would have played bishop d7. Then he can take right away. You take. Now he castles. You play bishop c5, f3, knight g5, f4, knight e4, bishop e3. Now there's no option, like in the game, to sacrifice your c6 pawn for dynamic chances. Here you have this option to sacrifice. But this is crazy, yeah. e6, wow. I'm sure that it's been played 1,000 times on lichess. Nefedov, I guess you have to consider bishop takes, right? It's not automatic take with the f-pawn. You can take on e6 with the bishop. This is not a problem, right? You have a raging attack here. f2, this knight is loose. So Nefedov has like a legitimate like option to take either way. on e6. If queen h5. So you got to give this consideration. Bishop takes, right? Maybe you didn't consider it because the other way was just solid and you thought that's fine. But what I'm interested is if he tries to play this, you know, what about his knight there? The knight is, first of all, like, even possibly trapped in some lines. I guess queen f6 is the most obvious question. What do you do on queen f6? Triple attacking f2. It looks very dynamic. I mean, black has to be better here. Maybe not enough to win, but I would have a tough time kind of like deciding. But I guess your move like wins a pawn, you know. So pawn is pawn. He has queen h5 check. I mean, I would expect him to play queen h5 check, but he's got no follow-up. If g6, queen h6, and he's dropping a bishop or knight or whatever. Yeah, that's bad. So he doesn't have anything there. So I don't know what does white do. He doesn't have queen h5 check. Well, what's he gonna do? Like, I don't even see a good move. c3. He's just getting crushed. Knight takes c6. Bishop takes c6. Queen h5. g6. Queen e5. What is going on here? Oh, the result is wrong. Okay. I was like, I forgot you told me that. Yeah. I forgot. Nefedov said, don't mind the result. It's wrong. Okay. There was a slight blunder. I think white thought he had something with queen e5. This and this. So the problem is this position. White thought somehow this position was good enough. He's taking here, taking on c6, or taking the rook at h8. The question is, how many winning moves does black have in this position? The obvious one is Nefedov's move, queen f6. But I'm curious if there's not more than one, you know? What do you guys say? Any side bets? I gotta go, guys. It's been fun. You guys think there's any other winning moves or just the one winning move here for black? I think there's more than one. This is a safe bet, right? King d7. Triple exclamation. I would have played that in a... It's like my king d6 move from before. I don't know, Saeed. I thought about queen h4. Queen h4 looks questionable. I don't think that's going to cut it. There is also this, too. You gotta remember, he doesn't necessarily take the rooks. King e7 allows queen here check. So I think king d7, this is beautiful. You got that walk over there on the light squares. Totally winning. Nefedov just routinely played queen f6. Enough to make his opponent resign. No, he played queen c7. Yeah, maybe actually Nefedov, maybe your move is inaccurate. Like here I'm protecting the c7 pawn. So let's see what's better. Oof, king f7 is even better than my move. Why didn't that occur to me? Somehow I felt like my king was safer over here. But Nefedov's move is best. Queen takes c7 and then castles. See, Nefedov is used to all these like Schliemann's, so he's always castling kingside with that f-file attack. So bishop takes f2 check isn't mate, interestingly. You know, the funny thing is, like, there's no mating attack here. If he had taken this way. There's actually no forced mate. That's insane. Oh. There is. It's mate in 10. Wow. Mate in 9. Knight takes f2. Threatening knight h3 check. Well, it's dropped to mate in 6. It's getting shorter and shorter. My engine is just not, my computer is just not that good. Anyway, it was fun, Nefedov. Very amusing. I think they need to put you on a higher board. They've got Nefedov like on board 5 or something. He should be on board 2. He's much stronger than his rating shows. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining. I gotta get some rest. We're gonna be back. Thanks everyone for supporting the stream. Invisible donation from Nefedov. We're gonna need a bigger board. Where do I know that from? Yeah, that was amusing, Pavel. Thank you. We had some serious games, some not so serious games. It was from Jaws? What was the scene? Oh, we're gonna need a bigger boat. Oh, okay. Yeah. We're gonna need a bigger boat. Okay, okay. I thought he literally said... I was like, when did he say that? It's been a while since I watched Jaws. I can't get my son doesn't want to watch it. Alright, guys. We'll talk later. I'll see y'all soon. Have a great evening. Thanks, Mr. Coffee, for being our faithful moderator. And let's do a friendly raid. We had the raid from Grandmaster Durabali earlier, and I will share the love here for Art Vega.